Good evening, everybody. Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. Happy Latari Sunday. It's the halfway point of Lent, and it's a good day because 2 weeks from today I'm going to be leaving to head to our cathedral because on Monday of Holy Week we will have the Chrism Mass, which will be the first time I've gone to that in 2 years. It'll be the first time I've seen my bishop in over a year, so I'm looking forward to that. Just trying to think. With everything that's going on right now, the Chrism Mass is still going to be limited to the priest only, but I didn't go last year just because of everything that's going on. Along with that, I got my first shot on Thursday, so I'm very excited. I'm feeling fine, no side effects. I get my second shot on the 7th, and then I'm hoping, I think they say it takes about 2 weeks for it to kick in. And then I'm hoping to head back home to see my parents, which will be the first time in 19 months that I've been able to actually be home. So looking forward to it. So we already got a few people in the chat. Sonarda Pupus, Q Burr, good to see ya. I'm not even going to try to... Anyway. Darren is here, good to see ya. So I'm doing a solo stream tonight. I was happy to have Father Brem with us last week, but... this week is a big week in the church, as you know, because Wednesday is the Feast of St. Patrick's, and I'm about 3/4 Irish, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But also Friday is the Solemnity of St. Joseph. And the reason that I'm mentioning the solemnity is because this is one of the highest feasts in the church. In the church, we have all sorts of different feasts and celebrations from a memorial, which would be, and I hate using the term, a lowly saint, a minor saint. We would have feasts, so like the apostles, major saints, and then we would have solemnities. And these would be the major feasts. So like the solemnity of the incarnation of Christ, the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception, the solemnity of the Assumption, and the solemnity of St. Joseph, who we celebrate this week. And I'm trying to look up, let me see, I wasn't planning on showing this, but I will go ahead and do this. I want to find the exact quote, because Friday is a solemnity. The church gives us permission to celebrate in a special way. I'm going to try to bring up the law of the church. So, as you know, canon law is what guides the church. And here we go. This is going to be from the Vatican's website. I wasn't planning on starting with this, but you know what? I figure if you're Catholic, this is something kind of neat to know. Neat, not need. Well, need to, perhaps, but... Okay, this is from Code of Canon Law 1251. Abstinence from meat or from some other food as determined by the Episcopal Conference, so bishops, in America, the USCCB, the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, is to be observed on all Fridays, unless a solemnity should fall on a Friday. Abstinence and fasting are to be observed on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Well, you know what? This Friday is a solemnity, and as Canon 1251 says, unless the solemnity shall fall on Friday. So I am planning on having a steak or something, probably a lot of bacon, since I'm still doing keto. I'm gonna eat it up. But one of the other things, as I told my people this week and when I was explaining this, is a lot of people don't realize prior to 1966, all Fridays throughout the year, not just Fridays of Lent, but all Fridays were meatless. And then in 1966, I think it was February 1966, then Pope Paul VI, now St. Paul VI, issued an apostolic constitution which allowed modifications. And as Canon 1253 here says, the Conference of Bishops can determine more precisely the observance of fast and abstinence, as well as substitute other forms of penance, especially works of charity and exercise of piety, and whole or in part for abstinence and fast. So, we are able to eat meat on Fridays outside of Lent, but if we choose to do it, we're asked to do a substitute penance. So this is really up to the person as to what they want to do, but it has to be more than just a nice deed, I would say. The problem is when this happened, it wasn't really well explained. And I'll be honest, I didn't know this until about 25 years ago when I was in college. Never knew that. So, let's see. Couldn't have seal during Lent? Uh, yep, good news. So this brings us to the second one. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about the Irish tonight, but some of the nerd aspect. Let's see. The Razzies came out today. So I guess the Oscars are coming out soon. I'll be honest, I don't really care. The Grammys are on tonight. Again, don't care. Um, Reminds me that I'll probably have to talk about Mumford and Sons. They're a British kind of a folk rock band. They got rid of their banjo player because he was supporting Andy Nagel. I believe that's how his name is pronounced. Because he has a book out documenting what's happening with Antifa, and he's been very good at keeping track of what's happening in Portland, where there's been so much violence. But anyway, the worst of the worst were announced today. The Razzies, the Golden Raspberry. And I have to be honest, I am not totally surprised by this because, as we all know, last year was a pretty bad year for the movie theater. The last movie I think I actually saw in the theater was Detective Pikachu. And the only reason I went to see that is because I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan. I'll admit it, I loved him in Deadpool. And I thought Detective Pikachu was pretty good. So that was the last movie. I think the only other movie I saw last year in the theater would have been Midway. And that was one of the movies I had been wanting to see, but because I live near a small town, we had to wait for that to come. So over this last year, there hasn't really been that many movies made or released. So according to Deadline, Doolittle with Robert Downey Jr., which I remember when it came out, I have no desire whatsoever to see it, especially since there is a real nasty poop joke at the end. If I remember, Doolittle has to stick his hand up, and we can just guess where that's going, to retrieve an instrument that got stuck. And this was in an elephant or something like that. Sia's music, I only heard a little bit about that because there was some controversy. My Mr. Pillow, that should be My Pillow, Mike Lindell's documentary, Absolute Proof, and Rudy Giuliani's cameo in Borat. Now, I've never seen any of them. I don't really care to. I do love this, that they are giving a special governor's trophy to the year 2020 as the worst calendar year ever. Yeah, but if you look at the Black Death, I mean, only a third of Europe was wiped out. Other projects that drew Razzie attention were the reimagined Fantasy Island. I heard about it. I never saw it. Probably a good thing I never did. And the Netflix comedies Hubby Halloween, which I had heard, but I canceled Netflix probably a year or two ago. And with the Cuties controversy, I'm glad I did. The Wrong Missy, which I've never heard of. And just reading this title is one that I definitely would not have heard or seen of. The Polish erotic drama 365 Days. Gee, I wonder why I never heard of that. Last year's Cats was the winner, runaway winner. So let's look at this. Up for worst picture of the year. I'm just trying to bring this up on the side just so I can keep track of who all is here. Yes, as I see, Soul wrote Doolittle was stupidly bad. Yeah, like I said, it was really, really bad. 1917 was out last year, Snortopupus. I did see that in the theater too, and I just bought that on 4K. And I watched it last week again with a priest that had never seen it. And it's one of those movies that I think I could see maybe once, maybe a year or every few years and be content. But anyway, the worst pictures of last year were 365 Days, which again I've never heard of. Absolute Proof, the Mike Lindell, My Pillow movie. Again, never seen it. Doolittle, not going to see it. Fantasy Island, if it's on Hulu or free streaming, maybe. And Music, not heard of that. Worst actors: Robert Downey Jr., Doolittle. Well, from what I was hearing about that final scene where he had to retrieve an instrument, yeah. Mike Lindell for his movie. Michelle Marone, never heard of her. Adam Sandler's, shocker, Happy Halloween. He hasn't had a decent movie in a long time. And David Spade in The Wrong Missy. Never heard of it. Let's see, worst actresses. Now, I've heard of three of these. Anne Hathaway, but I've never heard of the movie that she wanted. It looks like she got double billing. The Last Thing He Wanted and The Witches. Never heard of either. Katie Holmes for Brahms and The Secret Dare to Dream. Again, never heard of it. Kate Hudson, music. Okay. Anna Maria, not even going to try to pronounce that name, 365 Days. Worst supporting actress: Glenn Close, Hillbilly Edgy. Again, never heard of it. Lucy Hale and Maggie Q for Fantasy Island. Like I said, if it gets to be streaming, I might watch it if it's streaming. I have seen when it comes to the superhero genre, I would almost put it up with Iron Man 3. I really did not like Iron Man 3. And then Maddie Ziegler for music. Okay. Worst supporting actor: Chevy Chase. I've not heard of this one. The very excellent Mr. Dundee. Rudy Giuliani, which I heard about his cameo in it. Unintentional cameo. Let's see. Reading. So I have two computers back to back. I can read the screen here. The Wrong Missy was a bad Adam Sandler movie with an unfunny comedian and no Adam Sandler. Would that be Amy Schumer? I used to like her. That would have been 10, 12 years ago. Because she was on Red Eye with Greg Gutfeld on Fox News. It was like a 3 o'clock in the morning TV show, news show. Kind of like what The Daily Show used to be like, but funnier. But anyway, Borat, I watched maybe a half hour before I turned it off. I mean, I just didn't find it funny. And of course, the whole purpose of it was to attack the Orange Man. Love this one. Robert Downey Jr. and his utterly unconvincing Welsh accent for Doolittle. Harrison Ford and that totally fake looking CGI dog, Call the Wild. I heard of that one, but I didn't want to see it. Lauren Lapkus and David Spade for The Wrong Missy. And, oh gee, Adam Sandler and his grating simpleton voice, Hubby Halloween. Yeah. Okay, worst director. I didn't even know these were out. All three Barbie and Kendra movies. So what? 365, that Polish no movie. Doolittle, Hillbilly Edge, and music. Again. But it is under worst remake, ripoff, or sequel. So, okay, here we go. So 365, the Polish movie, is a remake ripoff of 50 Shades of Grey. That explains a lot. Doolittle, remake of the original with Rex Harrison, which I've seen parts of. Fantasy Island, more of a reimagining than a remake. Hubby Halloween, oh, that's scary. Ripoff of Ernest Scared Stupid. God rest his soul. And then Wonder Woman 1984, which is the sequel. Yeah, so I did watch Wonder Woman 1984 when it came out on HBO Max. I'm currently subscribed because this week also, it's going to be. So we use the term Triduum to describe three of the holiest days in the church. That's coming up during Holy Week. So it begins on Holy Thursday, where we celebrate the Last Supper of our Lord, the journey to Gethsemane, the agony in the garden, and that leads to Friday, the trial, the carrying of the cross, the crucifixion and death of our Lord. And then wrapping up on Easter Saturday with the Easter Vigil, which is the highest mass of the year. I'm not comparing it to what's happening this week. Maybe for nerddom, not even nerddom, because I don't know. I mean, people will celebrate St. Patrick's. So Wednesday is St. Patrick's Day. Thursday, the Snyder Cut comes out. The Justice League Snyder Cut. I'm looking forward to that. That's part of the reason I subscribed to HBO Max this week. I had bought Tenet on 4K Steelbox, and it came with a week trial of HBO. I figured I'd wait till this week to activate it so I could watch without having to pay. Turns out the activation code expired last month. And then Friday is St. Joe's. So, good to see you. Good to see you. Drive safe. And hello to Puppy too. The thing I liked about Midway was it was the perfect combination of the 1970s Midway minus the love story and Pearl Harbor minus the whole love triangle. So, I mean, you get the whole action of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and there's a little bit of a husband-wife relationship, but there's not the same thing as Charlton Heston's son in love with a Japanese woman, and then trying to pull all the strings so that she can get into the country and released from the prisoner camp. But, yeah, I'm a history buff myself. I don't know if I have it right here, but I bought a book. It just came yesterday about the time between 1939 and 1941, Charles Lindbergh, FDR, and the attempt to keep America out of World War II. And again, I'm a big World War II fan. So, okay, so that brings us to the second thing. I did a live stream yesterday because for those that are Catholic that were following it, supposedly on Friday, the Secretary of State for the Vatican issued a document basically suppressing Mass within St. Peter's Basilica. And I gotta say, as a priest, this really has made me angry because, you know, one of the things you want to do when you're a priest, you want to be able to celebrate Mass in the Vatican and St. Peter's. This is like the highest place you could do it, next to the Holy Land. And when I went, I got to do that. Let's see if I can find the picture. I'll have to find that later. But I got to say Mass in the Clementine Chapel, which is underneath the main altar. And it's just like feet, not even feet, maybe a foot from the bones of St. Peter, or the relics of St. Peter. So that was pretty awesome. But according to the Secretary of State, they are now doing away with the ability to use the 46 altars in the main part of the Basilica for daily Mass. And yes, Bob, I'm still doing keto. Enjoying keto. Keto's been awesome. So this is from Father Stravinkius. I used to be able to pronounce that name. I've met him a few times, but he's a good priest. I'm trying to find what was it that he said. The one thing he pointed out, and I didn't realize it, is that the author is probably Archbishop Para, who is the successor to Cardinal Bucci. If you remember recently, he was the one that had the big conflict with Cardinal Pell of Australia, who went to jail and was acquitted, basically freed. The Australian Supreme Court basically said he should never have been locked up. False charge. But this is coming from the Catholic World Report. And I was talking with Odin's movie blog, OMB Reviews, last night a little bit about this through email, because he steamed about it too. One of the things that I thought was, when you say Mass in the Vatican, they ask for a donation. I mean, because they are giving you the host, the wine, the chalice, the vestments to be able to use, the linens that are used, and that stuff has to be cleaned. So to help recoup some of the costs, perhaps they ask you maybe to make a €10 donation. Honestly, I have no problem with that. But you think of 46 altars in the Vatican, if each one of them is paying that. Has to be a good amount of money. And as it just came out recently, the Vatican's in the hole for about 61 million. So, but yeah, I'm not going to go into this article fully, but if you want to find it, it's at the Catholic World Report. Okay, so this kind of brings, let's see, Those Angry Days. That's the one I have. That's the book I just got. I also was reading American Axis, Henry Ford, Lindbergh, and their contribution to the rise in Germany. And it's good. I'm enjoying it. Tomorrow is the 15th. That for me, that's the new Audible credit day. So I already probably have a few books picked up that I'm going to purchase tomorrow as soon as those credits become available. So, like I said, this week is St. Patrick's Day. And I did the DNA test a few years ago. And it turns out, and I kind of disagree with this a little bit, because according to the Ancestry DNA, it says I'm 51% Irish. Well, I'm more than that. I've been able to trace it back even further, and this is the reason why I don't like that. It says your estimate is 51%, but can range from 44 to 65%. Now, the reason I have a little bit of issue with this is it says that I'm maybe 23% Scottish, but look at the estimate. Anywhere between 0% and 23%. I know I can go back at least 5 generations. So if there's Scottish blood in me, it's going to have to go way, way, way back. German, well, Miller. That's German. Also, I have last name Eichel in my name, and I've been able to meet some of them. This says that I'm 12% German. I think I'm a little bit more than that, but again, it says it can range from 0 to 31%. The one that surprised me, and I am going to call baloney, is Swedish. Again, if I am Swedish and it says my estimate is 3%, but it could range from 0 to 5%, if I am Swedish, it's going back before the 1700s. Because there are no Swedish names that I've come across. And like I said, I can go back about 5 generations. But one of the things they did, my ancestors come from... Okay, so let's see. I meant to do... Let's do the Ireland. Oops. Okay, let's see. So, according to this, Munster, North Munster, West Clare, South Clare. I know that part's accurate because I have the obituaries for like my great-great-great-grandparents. They came from County Clare. And not really doxing myself, but my ancestors came from County Clare and went to a small western Iowa town by the name of Clare. It's still around today. It's a town of maybe a few hundred, maybe not even a few hundred. Father Ben, who joins me, is from that diocese. He actually was stationed in the parish where I have family from back home, growing up in Iowa. Webster County, Iowa, has one church and 2 priests for what used to be 7 parishes. So, but the reason that I'm bringing this up is one of the things that always kind of gets me a little disgusted on St. Patrick's Day is everybody wanting to pretend that they are Irish. They'll go out and get plastered. You'll see all the shirts, "Kiss Me, I'm Drunk," or something like that. And, you know, I taught church history in our Catholic schools for 9 years. And one of the things I did during that is I focused on the anti-Catholicism, anti-Irish that we faced in the 1840s. And this image here, if it's coming up, is a good example. This is from Harper's Weekly, Saturday, December 9th, 1876. This is drawn by Thomas Nast, who is known as the modern day father of the image of Santa Claus, the way of Santa Claus. But with the screen, hopefully it's kind of showing. I'll have to do a zoom in. So, I mean, you look at the faces and you look at the top. So, on one side, you have the happy African with a goofy grin and representing the South. On the other side, you have the North with the Irishman who looks like an ape. And the fact that they are equal is basically saying that what the African is to the South, the Irish are to the North. Now, again, I always get a kick out of everybody wanting to be Irish on St. Patrick's Day, but from the images that I'm going to show, that's not always the case. Let's see if this is working. So, this is from, again, Thomas Nast, The Usual Irish Way of Doing Things. So, again, you notice that the Irishman is looking like a monkey with a bottle of booze, sitting on a powder keg with a torch. And I don't know if this will show here. Observe the sequel now, Mr. Beecher, gospel maker of cant and dollars. I think that's what it says. Free love and anti-Irish hatreds. And thou too, Jack Hoffman, whose name will live to be serenaded. I can't tell. When you're, yeah, this is gonna have to be. I'm gonna have to read up on this later. Zooming in, it's still not making a difference. But let's see. I think. Okay, hold on. Trying to forward. Let's see. Why is that not zooming? Okay, I'm gonna. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is another image. I don't really know who drew it. C.J. Taylor, never heard of him. But as you can see, America the Melting Pot. You got the Soviet, you got all sorts of different nationalities. But the one that's raising hell is the Irishman. And again, look at how he's drawn. And let me see, I can't read because the mortar of assimilation and the one element that won't mix. See, part of the problem was in the 1840s, that's when my ancestors came over from Ireland during the time of the potato famine. The majority of immigrants to America were from Ireland, which was Catholic, England, which was anti-Catholic, and Germany, which the southern part, the Bavarian part, was Catholic. So you have a lot of Catholics coming to America. You have a lot of Irish Catholics coming to America. So this is going to give rise to the Know Nothing movement. And the best way I explain that is if you've seen the movie Gangs of New York with Daniel Day-Lewis, he plays one of the Know Nothings. And one of my favorite scenes from that movie is where, I don't want to say I like him, Leonardo DiCaprio, but he's on the steps of Old St. Pat's with the bishop and a bunch of other men with torches and weapons. That actually happened. Because in Philadelphia, where I went to school, I can't remember the exact year now, but there was riots, and the fear was that the Catholics were trying to get the Bible kicked out of the public school, and the nativists rioted, and they burned down 2 Catholic churches. They took a cannon to a third. I think they tried to bomb a convent. Then that nativist sentiment went north to New York City, and Archbishop John Hughes, Dagger John as he was known, basically threatened the mayor of New York that he would turn New York City into another Moscow if one church was touched. Basically, because the firefighters are Irish, it's like if you attack one Catholic church, we're not going to stop the fires. Nothing happened. So, but this was a newspaper going around at the time, American Patriot. Notice how they got the papal tiara around the dragon's head. This could be really considered similar to today. American Gold. This is from May 1882. the Irishman coming to America, working for it, and sending it back home to Ireland. So, for those that might be anti immigrant, especially with our neighbors to the south, coming to America, taking our money, sending it back. So, just as the Mexicans are facing it today, so did the Irish back in the 1800s. So, this was from, I think, a British magazine called Puck with a P. Okay, I'm not even going to read that one because there's a major no word. Word that I do not even want to repeat. We're going to skip that. But this is another one from Harper's Weekly. I don't know the exact date, but it presents 3 profiles. You got on the left the Irish Iberian, so basically an Irishman. You got in the middle an Anglo-Teutonic, and you got African on the right. As it says, the Iberians are believed to have been originally an African race who thousands of years ago spread themselves through Spain over Western Europe. Their remains are found in the barrows or burying places in sundry parts of these countries. The skulls are of low, can't make out that word type. They came to Ireland and mixed with the natives of the south and the west, who they themselves are supposed to have been some type, I think it is, of descendants of the savages of Stone Age, and who, in consequence of isolation from the rest of the world, have never been out something in the healthy struggle of life. Anyway, you got the perfect specimen in the middle, and you got the low breeds in the sides. So, again, a lot of the crap that we faced in America during the 1800s. Let's see, this is from 1881. Bred in the United States. You got the Irish American Dynamite skunk. And again, look at how he's portrayed. Okay, let's see. Let's keep moving. While I'm trying to bring up the next image, I again thank everybody for joining. Please, like I said, make sure you hit the like button, and if you have any questions, okay, I know why that's not coming up, because I'm at the end, so I gotta go back. Like I said, if you got questions or anything you want to know, ask. I'll try to do that. This was an anti-Knights of Columbus poster I found, I think from the 1900s. Basically, it's a bunch of baloney. I'm a 4th degree Knight. I've been a 4th degree Knight for almost 12 years now. Supposedly there's like this secret oath that the 4th degree Knights take. It's supposedly un-American. No. It's been years since I've been through one of the initiation rites for the Knights of Columbus. I know that they have now done away with a lot of the secrecy of the rites, that they're open to the public. They kind of combine the first to the third into one rite now. No. That's not happening. The Fenian Guy Fawkes. Again, nasty little face on him. This is from the London, I'm not even going to try, 1867. Candidates for the Board of Education opposed to the reading of the Bible in schools. Okay, Mr. Gorilla, the Young Ireland Party, exulting over the insult to the British flag. Shouldn't he be extinguished at once? Let's see. And yes, I gotta mention that too. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that drives me nuts. Especially with the t-shirts and cards and just the humor. Yeah. But I mean, things have not changed. There's that bigger image. This is one of the anti-Catholic cartoons. Don't believe in that. What the Irish Roman Catholic children will be told to do next. Kick it out peaceably, I think. In other words, they're kicking out the Bible, and you look at the faces and the spooky little priest in the background. So, as I mentioned on Friday, I did the stream with the rabbi. It was a good stream. We talked some Doctor Who. We talked about Catholicism. We talked about Judaism. And I mentioned some of the anti-Irish, some of the anti-Catholic persecution we faced in this country. This is an example here from 1928 because Al Smith was the first Catholic to be nominated for president. He was a Democrat, governor of New York. And the fear was if you elected Al Smith president, not only is he going to end prohibition, as he's seen here carrying a bottle of booze, but the Pope is going to run America because this is the Pope, and at the time they still wore the tiara, the three crowns, and the Cardinals are going to be running America. So, again, don't elect a Catholic because otherwise Rome's going to run America. And again, this was another thing that came up during the 60s when JFK ran for president. Champion of the Fenians. I don't really know who that would be. I mean, I know who Fenians are, but the Democratic nominee of Massachusetts. Okay, so we got Irish Industries. You got the Infernal Machine Manufacturing. Okay. You got the Irish Vote Manufacturers. You got the Landlord Killing Industry. And a never-failing Irish industry. Basically, a guy begging for money. Again, look at the way the face is drawn in all of these. Let's see. The Irish Declaration of Independence that we're all familiar with. Got the nice, young, attractive woman. And you got the big, Irish, ugly-looking woman. This one's a little bit more racist. So not only were the Irish mocked and persecuted, so were the Chinese. Yeah, I don't know the story behind this one. This one's an interesting one. I don't know where it was from, but contrasted faces. So comparing Florence Nightingale with Bridget McBruiser. Let's see. Yeah, try that. Let me make sure the image is still up. I had to hide. Okay, good. It's still up. And the cat's trying to get in the way. Okay. Come on, Bosco. Okay, so you are a red-mouthed Mick, of course. Come to go on our police force. Old Ireland you left behind because some grub you wish to find, and yet you wildly howl and weep that you're obliged to work so cheap. Go back to lands that gave you birth, most discontented man on earth. And the thing that I keep laughing is how many of these people, how many of their ancestors today want to be Irish? This is kind of another famous one. Uncle Sam's Lodging House. Let's see if we can zoom in on the caption. Uncle Sam saying, look here, everybody else is quiet and peaceable. You're all the time kicking up a row. So you got the German, you got the Englishman, and you can see their flag. You got the Irishman raising a ruckus. Next to him is the Chinaman, Italian, French, Japanese, Spaniard, Negro, Russian. But only the Irish. So I think that's the last one I have for that. Yeah. So really, that's about, I think, all that I have for tonight. Like I said, I just wanted to pop on, do a live stream for St. Patrick's Day. I know that Wednesdays are busy for me this week because at the parish we have a special mass in the evening for those that have been staying home during the time of the pandemic. And then after that, I have CYO, which is our high school youth program. And after that, I have RCI because I have somebody possibly coming into the church this year. So Wednesdays, and before the Mass, I also have CCD, which is our grade school catechism. So Wednesdays are busy, but I'm going to make it work because, again, it's St. Patrick's Day, and I love St. Patrick's. On Thursday, I get to host a deanery day for the priests because we have that 4 times a year, and there's 4 parishes in our deanery, so it's my turn to host. So I'm going to be doing a brisket with Guinness. Let's see, what is my favorite Irish movie? I haven't seen The Quiet Man. I need to. I've been wanting to. I'm trying to think. There was a movie that I saw, and I can't remember. It was about the 1921 Civil War and 2 brothers on either side of the Civil War. I can't remember. It's been 12 years, 12, 13 years since I saw it. My first parish, I was assigned to an off-the-boat Irishman. He had come to our state back in the 60s, was ordained, and has been very active in our diocese. He just retired about a year or 2 ago. But he was, because of Maureen O'Hara. I will say that one of my favorite TV shows is not exactly Irish, but it has an Irishman in it. Black Books. It's BBC. Dylan McDermott, I think it is, plays it. I do like Father Ted. I mean, I know that Noel from the TARDIS Zone and I are supposed to do a stream on that. As I was telling Rabbi, it's like none of the 3 priests and Father Ted would ever, well, with the exception of Father Ted, but the other 2 priests would have been kicked out or not ordained. Because you got Father Jack, who's an alcoholic, lecherous person. This day and age, he would have been kicked out of the priesthood. Father Dougal, who basically is a dummy. One of the things we have to do when you're in the seminary, usually at the end of the 3rd year, you have to take the Master of Divinity class or tests. And this is basically to ensure that you actually know theology, that you're able to retain the theology. I passed my MDivs. I mean, it's one of the certificates that's hanging in the background here. Then my 4th year, I qualified to go for an MA degree because Master of Arts degree because I had the grades. So I ended up doing a 60-page paper in 3 months on the history of the Roman canon, which is the first Eucharistic prayer for those that are Catholic. And for those that don't know which one that is, it's the really long one. But it's a beautiful one because it goes back to the time of St. Ambrose. So, but yeah, Black Books is awesome. The IT Crowd is one of my favorites too. I'm a big Anglophile. I've been talking to Dan and Ian about this, and problem being, I'd like to talk British shows. Are You Being Served is another one that I just bought on the box set recently. I just started watching Open All Hours. I have BritBox here, and I guess it's a show from the 70s. It looked good, and I'm 2 episodes into it. It's not anything like Are You Being Served, being able to get hooked on it as easily as that. But I haven't given up yet, so with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Take the rest of the night off because beautiful thing about having 3 Mass in a day, I am dispensed from praying my Liturgy of the Hours. Mostly because, again, for me, I'm driving 60 miles on a day between 3 parishes and doing 3 Masses, giving a homily 3 times. So when we trinate, we're dispensed from praying the office, and I take advantage of that. And really, there's nothing wrong with that too. Yes, Dave Allen. I believe Ian, Mega Geek, was just telling me about him, and he sent me a clip. I gotta discover him some more. Because the clip I saw, I liked. I want to get to Ireland. The problem is, I got so many places I want to go, but only so much money I can spend. So, but like I said, again, thanks everybody for joining me. Please, again, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the ring bell so you can be notified when new videos are uploaded. I'm probably going to go live again this week if there's more news on what's happening in the Vatican with the Secretary of State. And until next week, God bless.